and I'm doing this thing right here. Actually, wait, is that the wrong thing? Wait, no, it's right here. Doing this little dragon thing right here. Looks really cool. It's a big old cement thing, and looks tight. I'm gonna move that plastic thing out of the way. Which plastic thing is that? I think it's the metal, the Q-tips. That's pretty cool. And I'm turning that into a lawn ornament for my mom. Alright, okay. Just waiting on stuff. I'm gonna come up with a topic of some kind at some point or another and try to annoy someone. Not exactly try to annoy them, but try to give them undue therapy. Because only you can prevent. What? Nothing. We're just gonna talk about therapy, guys. We're gonna talk about all of our problems, and we're gonna share, and we're gonna blow shit up. What's going on? I thought, oh man, I thought we'd be down. I thought everybody would be down. Why is not down to talk about your problems? Talk about all the. You living good? That doesn't mean just because you're living good doesn't mean you don't have any problems. Like you got stuff you need to talk about. You don't like the line somewhere. You don't like doing stuff. You don't like getting on the transit in your city because it's dirty, or you like, huh? My dad's slipping into a coma, I think. It sucks. But it's okay. He had a good life. He had a really good life. He lived a long life and stuff. He's like 70 now, I think, or 65, 64, something like that. He's starting to slip, I guess. He already had 2 strokes, so. Does anybody want to get murked? Alright, I gotta go do something first. There we go. Alright.
Now don't get too crazy with that, you hear?
Here we go. Sounded pretty weird, bro. Sounded like you were jacking it a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, it sounded really weird. But it's okay, I'll blow you up anyways. It's fun. We're gonna blow some shit up. And shh. Don't tell anyone. Just let it happen. Well, somebody's gonna get blown up. I see one of those crazy enforcer things.
Listen, this is Tony Prince.
Huh? Doesn't matter what level I am. Doesn't matter what level I am. Oh, so you're the Fly Emirates? Are you the Fly Emirates? Got that Deluxo, huh? Deluxo. You got the? Do you have the Deluxo? You know you don't have the Deluxo? Seriously? You don't? Do you have it? Do you have it?
Hey, it's Paige Harris. I work with Lester Crest. I basically run things over there while he takes credit. Anyway, I've got a new sideline you might be interested in.
You don't have the Deluxo?
Taken elegantly, using the latest tech. Only problem, you'd need somewhere to store our nerve center. If you ever start a club with Tony Prince, I'll give you another call.
Don't say anything. I don't...
Come on, man. Jeez. I'm not looking for you. Newsome. CJ9. Guess it's gonna have to be like that then. It's okay though. I think we could have had it all. Did I do anything? What happened? Did something happen? Dang it. Alright, I didn't get you. Dang it. There's another dude named CJ Newsome. So you don't have the Deluxo anymore? Alright, who has it? Do you know who it is?
Hey, it's Ron.
Because they just tried to murder me and I have to get my revenge.
From Sandy Shores. Look, I've got an opportunity. But don't hang up. Seriously. No, this is interesting. What says interesting opportunity like endless blue skies? Huh? Now, if you buy a hangar on...
There he is. Oh, he's an enforcer. Okay, cool.
We can build an air freight business together. That's right. Finally, we can earn some air miles that are worth something. Ha!
There he is. He's coming back. It's flying like a little mosquito, man. There he is. Oh wait, where'd he go? Is he on top of a building? No, I don't have Deluxo. It's whatchamacallit? I only have like the free car basically right now. I'm trying to save money and buy stuff, but I don't even have a crime thing any right now. The crime package thing or something.
Let's not pussyfoot around. I know who you are. I know what you're into. We've put up a property on Maze Bank foreclosures, and you're just the kind of tenant we want taking it. You'll be starting an underground operation in more ways than one. Log on, click.
You do have the enforcer. Good job. The enforcer, the little the thing, what is it called? the little mosquito driver thing. You don't have it? Always in passive mode. The dude that was doing the enforcer thing. Really? Oh, there he is. There's a dude. It's in passive mode, right there. Huh? Yes, we're not around each other. I want to play around first. Let's do some stuff. Like it's like. And usually I have a bunch of people quit on me anyway, so I wind up annoying them or something like that, or they think I'm annoying or something. Or like I have like when I want to race, blah blah blah. I won a race and I was in the last lap of it, and everybody quit. So I want to not have that happen. So I want like a bunch of people to. Huh? What's up? Why you haven't? Oh, you're just like you getting stuff like together, so you can kill me and stuff. Oh, what? Okay. Let's do this. I just ate a whole bowl of chili. Fuck yeah. I'm at 439. I'm trying to do this, man. I'm trying to do this reverse thing. I'm in firsties. Oh, you want to come in? You want to go in a group? You want to go in a group? You? Yeah. Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know. You said you want a group, man. You want to group up? Doobity-doobity-doo. I gotta get some distance now. Going out to the country, to the hills. The hills are alive, the sound of music. Yes! $8,000. Awesome. I get to get more weapons. I had to get another car. This is getting shot up by the cops right now, so. Who, me? I don't know where y'all are. They have the orange thing? Yeah, I'm coming. Why, you want me to blow you up? Just don't kill y'all. You'll invite me after? Yeah, I got like rockets and sticky things that's what the one I'm at. That's what the best stuff that I know. Yes! Got a new car. They killed y'all? Y'all scoping, huh? There we go. Oh, see? Y'all trying to blow me up. Where's it? There he is. Where am I at? I'm behind y'all. Yeah, I'm by. The only thing done? I know. What y'all doing? Oh, I'll see.
Hey, Paige Harris here. You and me should do this. It makes sense.
Alright, since I'm the only person in the session right now, am I? I think I am the only one person with a headset in the session. We're going to talk about therapy, and we're going to get to know ourselves. We're going to have a good talk, and there have been a lot of times in my life where I decided to try something new, or try something that I haven't done before, and it proved like really easily done, you know, like it proved myself able to, or it proved to the fact that I was able to kind of muster up the courage to be able to do different things in my life that kind of made me feel happy about myself, and it's not about honor or anything like that. I mean, my dad is kind of lost on that issue sometimes. I think he's like, I don't think it's like I don't think he chooses not to he chooses to let things fly past his ear, you know? Like, you ever see that when like someone says, like, for everything you have, or for everything you say to that person, they always have something to say back. Like, they're always wanting not the last word, but the last thought, you know? The last, like, thing to make you think, you know? Like, and I tell my dad that he shouldn't eat chicken tenders anymore, fried chicken tenders. And he tells me something about Nietzsche, or he tells me something that I should get to work on. And it's classic diversion, but he uses thoughtful and integrative conversation to do it. He's a very smart man. He's very smart, and also very, very manipulative, because he's smart. I've noticed that a lot of times, I think my dad, what he does is he diverts a lot of attention off of himself to be able to focus on different tasks at hand, and that can be used in positive ways, and it can be used in negative ways. If your diet isn't right and you had 2 strokes, then, I mean, you know what? My dad, He just wants to go. That's all. He just wants to stop, and he wants to go. He wants to stop not living, but he wants to stop existing, I guess. Because life has been pretty hard for him, and he's taken it pretty hard. And that's the reason why I think when your life is pretty hard and you take it pretty hard, it can be that much more devastating, I think, when something goes wrong. It's the reason why I think that positivity and negativity are not supposed to be, I guess. I mean, being positive as opposed to being negative is just something conducive to your life. Something that you feel is making you not go, well, I don't even care anymore, or well, you're like exactly like your mom, or you're exactly like my mom, or you don't want someone like your parents to date. It's stupid, because your parents, you realize your parents helped you because they had to, not because of any sort of thing, like any sort of like, when he gets older he'll take care of me. No, not all the time. There's not all of that stuff. There's a lot of times where people just, I mean, they don't get the markers of anything. They don't get the... I'm dumb. That's dumb. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do.
You've racked up some more ammunition rewards points.
Thank you. You racked up. I can't. Right? You can't you can't rob this dude. Okay, cool. There are a lot of times where the first parts about your life seem like infinitesimal sometimes when you're looking back, but when you were back then, when you were understanding something, a lot of times things would surprise and amaze you. You forgot about that surprise because you got used to the things around you. And I think that's where my dad is sitting. My dad is sitting in a place where the things that he used to think about, the things that he used to want, they don't amaze him anymore. They don't make him feel like he's wanted, or they don't make him feel like he's actually doing anything with his life. That he doesn't have to have a direction to go in, but he has advice to give. And that's, I think, the only thing that he thinks that is pertinent to his own existence, is giving advice. And I think it's not sad, but it's definitely depressing, I guess, because my dad's gonna die soon, so. But there are a lot of times when I knew my dad wouldn't die soon, and I thought that he would live forever, basically. And I just did 2 wheels, amazingness, awesome. There were a lot of different reasons why I think my dad's kind of losing it, and basically letting go before he actually kicks the bucket, I guess. Or maybe they'll find some super cure, and within the next, say, a few years or something like that. I don't know when my dad's gonna go, but I hope it's not soon. There were a lot of times when I thought that he wouldn't, and I knew that he wasn't gonna do it anytime soon, even if he was. And those times were pretty good. My dad has a weird sense of humor sometimes, and I think that a lot of times, I fucking landed it on my hood. I'm amazing. There were a lot of times where my dad kind of showed me what for, I guess, in the situation, or basically told everyone that I knew what was going on, even though everyone didn't think I did. And that's, I guess, I think what my dad actually gave me credit for. And maybe that's why I revere him so much sometimes, is because he taught me kind of so much, and he basically trained me to be a pretty friggin' smart-ass dude. He always kept me guessing, I guess, as far as things went, and started playing mind games with me at a young age, basically. And I mean, some people could say it's like it wasn't abuse. It was more over. My dad knew that I would still be okay, you know. My dad knew that I would still be okay, and it's maybe a negative reinforcement, I guess. He'd always leave people guessing, though. He was never really a good arguer. He's never really a good debater. He kind of disliked he definitely disliked a lot of things, and maybe because he was alright, we're gonna turn that off. Maybe because he was you know, I can't come up with any excuses for him. I mean, I don't want to either, because I mean, what he does is it's pretty insensitive sometimes, but also too, I mean, what I can say is that he basically trained me to be the person that I can be, to be able to be the person in the moment, to where I'm not always lacking in things to say or things to be able to do, and that are positive, basically. And my dad always had a weird tone sometimes. Like, he would try to, it was negative reinforcement, but it was mostly with a kind heart, or maybe a kind tone. I don't know if he had kind intentions sometimes, but no, he did mostly have good intentions with me, and man, it's hard to see people go when you know, or if you don't know, then that's even worse, like. He sees himself kind of fading away sometimes, and I see him fading away sometimes. And like when we were driving, it was constantly moving into the next lane, and I had to drive home, I guess. I really wish that he would kind of like stop it, just like give it a rest and rest himself. Quit tensing up so much, I realized at a young age that I needed to relax because I was gonna start losing myself, and I think that's where my dad didn't stop, There wasn't a lot of relaxation techniques back in the day. I mean, there was known, but it wasn't widely accepted among people who actually practiced football and different sports. Realizing that you need to relax your muscles because you can actually teach your muscles to bruise yourself. Not only can you, it's a reflex sometimes, and it can be terrible. You can break bones sometimes with your muscles that are like that, like well trained. Sometimes if you have a vitamin deficiency of any kind, or you've been cheating or doing a cheat day of some kind once a week or something like that, it can really affect you, and that's like sometimes the worst thing, because there's like if you lose a ligament, or if you snap a ligament or something like that, or then it could mean the end of that ligament. people train and people do a bunch of different stuff, you know, but there are a lot of reasons why people really need to start realizing that joint health is just as important as any other health, and being able to be flexible in certain situations or certain areas of your life and areas with your body. It's just as important as being the guy that can jump maybe 8 feet in the air, something like that, or something. I don't know, or 6 feet, 7 feet, something like that. A lot of people don't realize that they're losing it because they like with Sylvester Stallone, he had a heart attack on a movie set and all that other different junk. Man, it's just hard to gauge sometimes, I guess, when you're doing stuff, or when you're thinking about things, or when you have something to do and it needs to get done at a certain point. My dad basically drove himself to that point sometimes, and by literally driving, basically. At some points, he played football, and then he just kept doing it. He kept doing different things that were strenuous and very taxing. So. The more that I saw him kind of not taking it easy, the more I asked him to just try, I guess, you know? I think that my dad thinks that he's accomplished everything because of the amount of terribleness that actually like happened to him and all that other different stuff, you know? And most of the stuff he'll never share, you know? I mean, the synopsis, I guess, is basically of each story is kind of that, but he'll never go into detail. And most of the time, I mean, most people don't even believe him, so. So it's kind of hard, I guess, watching that happen, I guess, and seeing that fall through. I really wish that my dad could kind of not do that. Kind of have a few more years left, I guess. But he's gonna do what he does because he thinks that everyone's ignoring him, and he wants to, and not just because he thinks that everyone's ignoring him, but because he's not having a good time waiting for people to show up, you know. I think there are a lot of things that my older brothers and sisters, or older sisters and elder brothers and older sister and younger brothers have that are they make me kind of makes me tired, I guess, of what I think people do. Sometimes is they just see somebody and they think that they did all that stuff to themselves on purpose, you know. Like that's I think the reason why a lot of people look hard on some people that do different drugs and things like that, is they think they did it to themselves on purpose. And in some cases it happened on accident and they just kept doing it on purpose, thinking that they were doing something that was positive for themselves, or just not thinking at all. There are a lot of times when I thought that I was doing something positive for myself, or making friends or anything like that, when I realized that I'm not making friends, I'm just doing something with someone. And when that stops, I think they usually leave. If I didn't understand what they were thinking emotionally, or have some sort of joke or relatable inference, I guess, into their life, I don't think that I kind of made an impression, I guess. But I mean, that could be wrong. So, I mean, I'm taking everything into account. So, I mean, I love my mom, and she's working herself to the bone. Sometimes she stays up on end, and she eats well for herself, though. She takes care of herself, and that's a good thing. But then my dad, it's depressing, man. It's really sad, and I'm glad no one's hearing it except for me. Except for the people who might actually watch this later on, I guess. But I think that's the worst part of it sometimes, is you see the difference that people make in other people's lives, and you kind of look into what they're seeing or what they're trying to be as a person, and you don't see a bunch of different things that are happening in their life that are fucked up and I guess stupid and stuff. And my dad just kind of takes everything to heart sometimes. And I think my younger brother thinks that I'm more like my dad than he is. But I mean, I don't know. I don't get it sometimes. But I really hope we're not. Either one of us aren't, because it's just really. I think. But Jacob's got his tone, basically, his mannerisms sometimes, and I think that sometimes I took my dad's mannerisms to heart, and I realized that the reason why I'm taking my younger brother's mannerisms to heart is because of my dad. And so it's not like he means the same thing or anything like that. It's just he or understands the same logic, I guess. Because I mean, obviously he doesn't, but I think when Jacob saw my dad leave, or had my dad leave, he kind of thought his entire family life was over and started acting out. And he's my younger brother, so I kind of tried to look after him and stuff like that. But not really. I mean, I didn't really like, Jacob, it's time for you to start becoming a man. When I'm like 15 or 14. I mean, I didn't want to force that on anyone, because you don't force it on people. It just makes sense to look forward and be like, you know what, I'm going to take this maturely and do something with this that I want to. And the more I look into it, the more I'll feel like I'm better with it, you know? $21, yeah, boy. Most of the time I don't see the difference that it makes in my life, but when I'm actually thinking about stuff, when I'm actually thinking about where my life is going, or where I'm headed, because I'm already 31, so I mean, I think that most of the time, it's not left up to a gamble. It's more left up to what I can do and how much I feel as though I can do. And I'm gonna add some black to that to be able to cut off some of the cooler stuff, I guess. Those are gonna be able to put candles in there, and they're gonna put it in their backyard. So it's gonna be cool. The biggest piece of learning, I think, that's ever happened to me is the biggest piece of learning that's ever happened to me is when I realized that no one respected me, you know? No one thought I was actually a good person, or actually anything. They just didn't really care, you know? And didn't really care whether or not I was a good person. They just didn't want me to win, you know? And that's the reason why I said bring it on last thing, is because people are going to try, and people are going to fail. And I'm not blaming it on everyone, nor am I trying to divert my feelings from my dad onto anyone else. But I noticed that a lot of times in my youth, I realized that kids had some pretty fucked up ideals about what it is that I tried to do, or what it is that I try to do at all. And they can act like there's some sort of difference of opinion, I guess, between me and my younger brother, or me and my dad. But I mean, it's like most of the time there's not, you know. Most of the time there's not. Most of the time my dad and me are pretty much getting along on the same page, but oh shit, I died. Oh man. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm making a dragon face for my mom. That's gonna look cool. And I think if you realize that sometimes people don't give a shit, I think your retrospective what's the word? Your retrospective technique of thought is, you know what? I got something for those hoes. For those bitches. So I don't call women bitches. I call bitches bitches. Because they're bitches. And they deserve to be called bitch. They deserve it. They deserve it. They basically deserve it. All the time. It's gonna get some more money. Alright. And oh, there's no money in there. Alright, get through. Come on, get through. You can do it. There you go. Oh man. Those are people that don't care about anyone's approval or anything like that. They don't give a shit about anyone's. They don't revere anyone or respect anyone. They don't know what it's like to have a mentor, and it's. I think their own. Their own mental reverence is what they revere. They revere themselves and their process of thought. And within that construct, they can be positive or negative. But what they really do try revering is the fact of change overall. And within it isn't a bad concept, but the way that it's implemented is to fuck people over. Or to act like nothing's happening when they know they fucked up. And that's basically what was in a child, kind of a child. It's basically childish to act like that. But understandably so, I think there are a lot of people that don't know or don't understand that that kind of behavior can mean the end of everyone, you know? And no, the whole road to hell isn't paved in good intentions. The road to everyone not existing anymore, and us just existing as energy, and then being torn apart and put together and torn apart and put together all over again almost every single day. That's not hell, that's worse than hell. That's like not a lake of fire, but if you ever believe it's something, then it's something, you know? Because you're probably traveling through the universe at some sort of light speed. But or energy, or faster than light speed. Who knows? You know, time doesn't exist. Everything is a construct of your own imagination, and you are all your own imagination, so it's kind of really hard to conceive a little bit. You know, there's that. There's also, I think, there's a lot of people that don't think that you can capture the spirit or release the spirit into the universe or something like that, and I mean, it sounds like a fart, but it's not really a spirit. The spirit actually is probably not unforeseen or not foreseen by the human eye. It probably is not even foreseen by any material or matter. It's more a construct of choice by, I guess, the binding of matter and energy. So I mean, there's that. So yeah, both matter and energy believed in one thing because of either manipulation from a long time ago, or what's the word? Transference, basically. Manipulation and transference. That's pretty much all there is. Basically, the universe has existed forever. Pretty much existed forever. The reason why it existed forever is because the materials that were used in the Big Bang do still exist now as matter, whether it is burned off or not, or moved in some different direction. Yeah, it still exists as matter. It just exists in a smaller form, or its electronic number is more of a hydroelectric energy, or a carbon. A carbon mixed in with a gaseous form, or a water, or a liquid form, and that's pretty much it. And most of the time, I think people don't realize that how fleeting, I guess, our existence is. They believe that, and also within that construct of them believing that they're right all the time and they must submit to their own form of judgment. They believe that since everything is fleeting, then everything must come to an end. You know, it's like you see the show and you see the end because the people want to stop performing. That's the reason. But do we ever want to stop living? Do we ever want to stop living? Do we ever want to stop living, though? Like, even if you want to take your own life, do you ever want to stop existing? Like, stop experiencing time as a construct? Or experiencing anything as a construct, or believing in what you are as energy and what you are as a thing, and starting over as a single cell organism, or even less than that, or a half cell organism, or anything like that. Like, and also, does that organism as we speak, as we are, believe or guide anything? Like, do we become something else after this life? Do we become anything? Like, as far as reincarnation goes, I think if reincarnation actually does exist, then it couldn't be any form of staying on this planet in any form at all. It would be moving through the universe as beams of light and pulses of electricity and waves. So, I mean, that's pretty much heaven, I guess, and hell, if you think about it. Because uninhibited, I think people would understand that it would be heaven for a person who's experiencing something for the first time. And I think people would believe that hell would mean that everything around you is constantly forming and constantly tearing apart. So basically it would probably be the inside of a singularity, probably. I think that would probably be the meaning of hell, something like that. What people have existed and how they have existed over the course of this universe, and also believing and understanding and knowing that all light and all whatever form of foresight that anyone has about the afterlife. I think what really people don't understand is that the more that I think about it, the more that it becomes more complex. The more that I think about it, the more that it becomes something of absurdity. And I think that... Ooh, nice. Probably. I'll be okay, though.
Oh, good God, I'm so sorry.
You're such a bitch. Why'd you do this?
Good God!
Man! Shit!
Fuck cunt. Alright. Here we go. Understanding that, the pure velocity of human existence is going about 23,000 miles through the universe, I think. 23,000 miles is yeah, we're going like so at our most what's the word? At our most what's the word? At our most, I guess, speed, what I would say is, at our most terminal velocity, we are moving so fast that if we were actually moving that fast, if we were moving that fast on something that had no mass, nor no anything, our skin and everything would just peel off. Our bones would literally grind down to nothing because of the sheer wind and what's the word? Wind force, basically. And there is wind in what's the word? In space. There is wind in space. There is air in space. Air, pockets of air, wind, and all those other things. Solar winds are fucking insane. And when you're not used to it, it can be very, very hard to experience sometimes. And I've seen what's the word? The fact that a lot of people don't realize that we are in the Van Nuys belts that keep basically our atmosphere at in some cases a standstill, or in a circular motion, basically going back and forth between different hemispheres. It actually keeps our water moving and around us, and pretty much our land clean, and in some places it's basically just this whole thing that kind of gets rid of all the dead things, because that's what I believe. I believe the Earth is alive. It's my whole deal. So I mean, I'll say that we need to conserve it because it can conserve itself pretty much easily as we can actually try to conserve it. I mean, actual environmentalists realize that the Earth has conservation measures, and it's called fucking ruining everyone and everything that's living on it, because that doesn't give a shit about it anymore. Those are basically conservation measures. We are technically parasites to the Earth, technically, if it is alive. So basically fuck shit up on a daily basis. So alright, I'm gonna take a break because I need to get some water and rehydrate and probably eat some crackers or something. Alright. I'll be back. Bo's going to join me for the second half of this thing. We're going to talk about existence. Existence itself, I think, isn't an anomaly, because I think what's the cellular, what people think is an anomaly is just wrong. I think us being created or us existing at all, the way we mimic different life forms and things like that. Like we jump to water sometimes because we know we came from it. I think as creatures and people, I think we need to realize that we kind of came up with this whole writing process and existing process, basically. I think the more we exist, or the more we practice existing, the more the more I think that existence decided to keep coming and keep being. And the more I think that that existence decided to be the more I think that existence decided to keep going or be supported by something is the reason for, I think, most just jumping motorcycles. The reason I think that existence kept going, or that existence kept being, was because we willed it to be so, I guess, you know? I think that existence, or that thing that we have, that is our reality, I guess. Our pond of primordial evolution. And we did evolve. Most people can say or think that there is some sort of divine beast or divine calling or anything like that. But I don't believe that there's anything divine about existing. I think that there are carnal urges. There are urges to want to consume, I guess, to want to be able to inhabit, I guess, and also to be able, or to try to be able to understand. And existing urges, I guess, are to want company, to want others to like what you do, to like the things you like, to like the things you are, and if not to like the things you like, then at least to like your existence. And I do believe that opposites attract, and also I'm more kind of like in the corner of straight people, even though there has been people who decide that they're going to kind of like live life without that kind of bond, I guess, you know? And that much I can't do. So, I mean, I just don't find it conducive, I guess. I don't know why. I just find women more attractive. I find the existence of something that I could put a life in someone, I find it more fulfilling, I guess, than just realizing that a person can coexist with another, because coexisting is, I guess, meaningless in some instances, because we are transient in some of those cases, and in those transient cases we pull the lies, I guess, about ourselves out of our closets, and we use them sometimes to keep the person that was keeping us company closest to us. And a lot of times I've seen people use those existences or use those lies they keep to be able to keep someone that they think is close to them around them, even though they have no business being around them. They just think that that's what they should do, and they have no instincts otherwise. And that in itself, I think, sometimes is people can lose their existence, sometimes wanting someone to be with them forever and to stay the same. Because the carnal urge is that everything changes, and that we must consume, or we do consume. So everything that we consume changes, and in one way or another, whether it bonds to us or bonds to us to another person. It's eating, basically, and it's kind of alarming in some cases, because zombies seem more prevalent, I guess, in a certain basis or a certain bias like that. And I'd see a lot of different people sulking into cannibalistic urges if they weren't set in a time of order, I guess. They'd want to partake in something that makes them feel alive, and that's the only existence they have, or the existence that they want change, not realizing that everything does change always, constantly, and there is no such thing as Trump's America, because it's not America. Trump's doesn't own it. Doesn't. So if you feel as though you're getting out there, just realize that Nike used children for the labor forces, and they're stupid, and I boycott them before they started doing all this bullshit for people who they thought were being oppressed in some sort of way, because the people are oppressed always. People are oppressed by themselves, or they're oppressed by others, and that's usually the whole cycle of it, because they don't realize that they're oppressing themselves by oppressing other people that oppress themselves. They don't understand that they're taking their time out to decide whether or not what to do with someone who really isn't worth their time. And most of the time, I think that people don't realize that they're losing themselves to something they thought that they never lose themselves to, and that's time. We're always losing time, and that within those bounds of realization, the fact that we're losing time means that we're losing ourselves within that time. And through that time, I think that people don't understand that there are some instances of wanting something, of wanting and needing, and getting and actually having. And shut the fuck up. Here we go. There are most times when I see oh man, that was surrounded. Those bitches were everywhere. The more I start to see a pattern that arises in most of the people, sometimes, whether or not they see themselves in a movie or they are outside of themselves looking in, what they sort of see, I think, and what I've learned through psychology, and what my dad has learned basically through psychology, is that everyone has the existence or the preservation of themselves, of self-worth, to exist without forces. Everyone in themselves has the proper authority to be able to know what those forces are if they exist with themselves. And whenever they feel as though those forces are to become too prevalent in their own mind, in their own life, they start to unwant it or unlike it. They start to realize where themselves or where they think themselves are going according to their own plan, not taking into account other people's. So within those realms, there are people who decide to sit and be controlled. There are decidedly people who sit and are wanting to be controlled, and there are people who perceive the latter, or perceive the worst, or perceive the best, or perceive the least of the fact, and I believe this, is that no one is being controlled. You are not being forced to listen to what the government says to you. You are not being forced to do what people say to be done. You are being influenced all the time by everything around you, and you are being influenced by those people who are saying that everything and everyone is at a loss, or at a loss for anything. Realizing that you are not at a loss, you are not at anything, you are not at anyone, and you are not at anywhere. You are not north, you are not south, you are not east, you are not west. You are in the center of your life. You are the center of your own universe that is your life. Start acting like it. Start being there. Start understanding that other people exist, whether you appreciate yourself or not. Start understanding that no matter how many times you decide to change yourself, other people don't want to sometimes. And also realizing that the more you realize the truth, the more you say to yourself that you passed it, that you did it, sometimes the more you pass. Sometimes the more that you say you do something positive, or you want to do something positive, or that you think you're doing something positive, is the more you do something that's positive. But the more you look at yourself in the mirror and say, that, where did you go? How did you do this? Where did it all come down to? The more you look at yourself and realize that you're being negative about yourself, or that there's a negative connotation in your evaluation of the world. And that negative connotation is that anything could ever, or will ever, or would ever try to completely and utterly control you. That there is no power, that there is only perception. And perception of fact is the fact that the perceiving is of you, and you are perceiving it perceiving you, and the perceiving of you is not your fault alone, I guess. You know? The perception of you is not of your volition. The perception of your life isn't, and I know I'm acting like the boy of Michael from Vsauce, but the perception of your life isn't anything or anyone. It's someone else's perceived notion of what you know, of how you know things. Because there are a lot of times I think that people have understood that there are certain perceptions of actual life, of actual people, that are in some ways ingrained into society, when in actuality they are not. What seems acceptable by means of dressing up with something, by dressing up something with music and putting a nice tune to it, helping a person believe in something. You can put any notion or say any crazy behavior, any antisocial behavior there is into anything, like talking to a cat or perceiving a dog to be able to understand every word you say. You know? I mean, eventually dogs will be able to understand that, because they will evolve past us giving them vasectomies and all that other bullshit, and they'll evolve past all that other stuff because they'll be asexual. They'll eventually realize that we go back and forth from being anamorphous or reptilian to back to being mammalistic, I guess. You see it in every day. There are so many different animals that have decided to go from back and forth from, and I think the between with that is avian. So there are so many different ways to be able to perceive what we ourselves have evolved or evoluded from. I guess I don't know what that means, or have evolved from, basically. Whatever we perceive ourselves to be evolved from, in some ways we can actually mimic that creature's dissonance, anger, and in some ways power. And I'm not saying that we're animorphs or bullshit like in a book or something like that, because it's more complex than that. It's more, we are perceived to be able to have the territorialness of a bear, or a mountain lion, or a perceived something, because of basically jail and humans that seem to want to, no matter who they are, no matter what they do, perceive something to be, what's the word? Punchable. If it can be perceived, if I can touch it with my hand, then it is no better than I am. That is the perceived notion of that. If I can touch that with my hand, or if I can perceive that with my senses, then it ceases to be the thing that I perceive it to be, and it becomes the thing that it actually is. The thing that I perceive it to be sometimes. Yeah. So, when people decide that they're going to create this whole world or realm of different things that can and can't control them, or can and can't do anything to them, because I actually learned this by saying something to my stepdad when my mom remarried, and I think that actually brought her out of her whole funk, I think, a lot too, and in some ways put her back in some situations to where she was actually doing something with her life and actually helping herself. And in a lot of ways, she was making, and maybe she went from one relationship to the other pretty quickly, but she didn't make the transition, I think, until it actually started to, until I actually started to believe, and she actually started to believe it. Like, I don't think that she actually went, I'm gonna be this thing and this person, and I'm gonna be this thing and this person until it clicks. And when it clicked, I think when she actually started getting used to it, it didn't really click. But when she started getting used to it, she started realizing that she can get back in her former glory and days of interest in herself, and realize that she could start taking care of herself again. You know? Because she lost that. She lost that entire thing with my dad. She realized that all the formalities of everything that she ever wanted with him were just like formal. My dad decides that and I can tell my dad knows this about himself, and that's, I think, the reason or the way that he's that disgusted, I guess, with himself now. The more you perceive a notion that you are imperfect, the more you perceive a notion that you are incomplete, the more incomplete you become without someone being able to tell you something. And within that thing, my mom became incomplete with someone next to her side. And that's where my dad took his leave in that situation. When I was about 5 or 6. And when my little brother was about 3, I think. Or 5, 6. When I was about 6 and my brother was about 3 or 4, I think. It was about 5 or 6, yeah. I was about 6. And my little brother was about 3 years old, and he didn't really perceive it to be anything. He just thought that people were moving away, and he got more space in the house, I think. Because that's how actual kids think. They don't think that it's their fault or anything like that. They just think that someone's moving away and they get more space. And no, we didn't get more space because someone else moved in afterwards. And basically it's because of a thing that my mom was thinking about for a very long time, and which my dad didn't realize because he was so fucking bullheaded, that also my mom was bullheaded and realized that my dad wasn't the person that he said he was sometimes. He perceived to be that person, and he wanted to be that person, but the way that he went about executing that thing was in a way misconstrued when he would argue, when he would snap, when he would tell people what it is and how it is, because he's been in the military all of his life, or in government at functions and things like that. His life was that. My dad's life was that. And I think my mom fell in love with that because she fell in love with what her father was. Not her father, but she liked the distinguishability between people who didn't hold themselves at a certain level and people who held themselves up, even though they were being persecuted in some senses. Because in a lot of ways we were being persecuted in the 30s and 40s. And there were a lot of people out there that didn't get it. They didn't get the whole thing. They didn't get the realization of the fact that we weren't alone in the fucking universe. Nor did they realize the fact that because they were into consumerism. The mere fact of everyone, the whole LSD kick and all that other different stuff, that was consumerist bullshit. It was consumerism. It was actual consumerism in a nutshell. Basically everything we've ever learned over the course of anything. It had to do with private businesses running experiments on people and not realizing that the only reason why the government actually tried it is because they said that it would actually work, and then they blamed the government for everything. It's not Democrats, it's revolutionists. Revolutionists that believe and think that somehow democracy cannot exist alongside martial law. And I'm telling you here and now that it can. It can exist alongside it. It can exist alongside certain things that people really need to understand, that there are rules and shit that you need to follow sometimes if you want to keep everything peaceful. Like, I was like, you're being oppressed. No. Just realize it, man. Realize they're not selling people's organs on the black market and making everyone disease-ridden and shit. They're not ruining kids' lives by trying to give them new pancreases or making them surgically incapable of eating food. They're not ransacking or ruining entire towns of people just because they're of a certain bloodline. It's people, and they're existing, and they're having problems. And you can say that, there's so much shit, there's so many people out there that are like, that in America that are being persecuted for everything, and companies are taking over, and the government's allowing it. And it's like, the government has no idea sometimes. They have inklings of it, but they can't go ahead and research into it because usually companies decide can have more. And if you notice on this, I really do believe this for a fact, is the private sector has literally ruined our lives. The private sector has ruined us, has made us believe that there is some sort of mass conspiracy out there that just fits on this mold of something. And that's why I go after conspiracy theories constantly, and I think about them all the time, every single day of my life, because I really truly want to find out where they come from, because within a lie there is a bit of truth. Wherever people don't realize something, or wherever people don't see something, that little bit of a lie of a truth basically can mold into, the government's ruining everyone's lives through some sort of manipulation of vibrations, or the chemtrails are ruining everyone's faces and stuff like that. She's like, no, there's just acid rain, and it's not that bad. It's usually just a bit acidic, but when it's close to the ground, watch out. Like, seriously. Like, I saw a cloud that was nearly 40 to 50 feet above in the air, I think, and it has to do with carbons being released into the atmosphere. Okay, it has a lot to do with carbons, so it has more to do with factories and also radiation to do with anything else. when carbon's released into the atmosphere, like a carbon of I'm just running through the town trying to murder these clowns.
Get out of here! Semper Fi, motherfucker! Withdraw! Grab the lever! Dick! We got a man! Shield yourself somehow! Cocksucker! Fuck me! You fucking wrong soldier!
Aw, shitty bitches. The more you look at it, the more you realize that. I mean, I'm not gonna have a hard time dealing with any death, I guess. My aunt just died, and so did my uncle, and I knew about it, but I mean, I couldn't do anything, you know. And I didn't go to the funeral, but it has nothing to do with my beliefs. I just think my mom wanted to take care of it herself, and there were a lot of things that actually went down, I think, that people didn't like, and I think a lot of times our family's been separated from them a lot, and we've not shared a lot of experiences together. So it's more to do with how comfortable everyone felt around me, and also how jokeable I can be, I guess. I mean, that's just my own interpretation of anything. I make jokes and stuff, and that's probably not the best atmosphere for people who are mourning, you know. I still do think that there are people out there that care, and if you realize that people do care, and they're not just playing games sometimes, there are actually real people out there that do give a shit about you, and not just your mom or your dad, but it could be random strangers that help you in your time of fucked upness or need or anything like that. It could be what you would perceive the worst person to be, but not really, because of that person being who they are is perceived by no one but there have been a lot of times when I realized that there were a lot of different times that I lived right next to someone who I could have interacted with, had fun with, or did some sort of activity with someone, but I didn't. And could have realized so many different things and had so much fun. And instead of that, I thought that, I mean, they didn't want to be around me because of my own negativity, I guess, or my own negative inference on my own existence, I guess. And I wish that I had more time, you know, to be able to say and to be able to see that there were more people out there that really wanted to share my time, you know. The more I look back, the more I see that there are different people out there with different inferences on what actually is.
I'm a fucking Marine.
And the more you swaddle around titles, I guess, the more you push around your weight in the world, the more people realize how heavy you are. What comes with you existing and how you exist and how you are going to exist or continue existing in someone else's realm or world. Do you keep existing or keep wanting to exist in that same realm, or do you
Shit, man. Oh, hell, man.
Got to be kidding me. You moron.
or do you learn that existence doesn't involve that emotion with anyone else but someone who you find unappealing? Do you think that emotion is triggered by someone who you find or have nothing in common with? Do you think that emotion itself is triggered by that person, or do you think that you're constantly trying to expect what you hear from that person, and what's the word? Through that, I guess, kind of inference, you are through that inkling of thinking. Do you think that it's not that other person doing that, it's you doing that? But if that thing was something that you thought about, that was the thing that you were going to help them with, or you were going to be there for them, or you were going to understand what they were doing, or how they were going to do it, or whether you were stressed out or not, you'd be able to say, hey, I love you, honey, or hey, I really, really like what you're doing right now, and I think you're really, really helping yourself. Would you say that to that person when they were doing it? Or would you get pissed off because you think they're going to say something pissed off at you, knowing that they're probably going to, or whether or not they're going to, whether your inference of or experience is the fact that they're stressed out as fuck and they just need time alone? Whether my dad is truly, really trying to kill himself, or really trying to just have fun, or trying to just be alone for the person that he is, trying to exist and realize what his goals actually are, because he has goals. I'm sure he does. I don't know what his goals are, but yeah, I'm sure he has some. I like to think that because it makes me feel better. But no matter what, I know, even if my dad dies tomorrow, or dies today, or dies at hours from now, I mean, it's a shudder. It's shudder to think at it, but I know I'd still love him. I wouldn't stop, you know. I wouldn't stop trying to say things, you know. I wouldn't stop trying to do things. I wouldn't stop trying to be myself and make him proud, because I know that he existed, and therefore I know also that I can exist as well. You know? And through that, I think a lot of times people don't realize their true meaning, I guess, and they're always brought back by what's happening in their life every single day, or what they're doing that moment, or caught up in some sort of bullshit that they think is, and that's where I think the French Quarter stayed for a while in my heart. It's not a beast, it's not a burden, it's not anything, it's the people who keep that fucking stupid goddamn magical retardedness alive. Stupid fucking people that think that no one knows what they're doing. That no one knows exactly what they're doing at any goddamn point, even though they can pick them off of a map, and people have literally flipped off satellites and drive-by cars. I mean, what more do you need? Like, they already know. You know, what more do you need? They already know. Like, what more do you need? Like, do you need it? Like, to realize that we're in the golden age of technology? Or the platinum age of technology? Pretty much, the golden age was pretty much the start of the computer, I think. So, you know? I want to go faster. There have been existences, I think, that people put in their own category of honorabilities. But what about the guy who leads the regular life? The one that always is the reliable one and always does the things until he does them and then doesn't do them anymore when he's not supposed to. What about that person? What about that dude who eventually starts to realize that all of the shit that he does is meaningless? Or all the things that he thinks about are just like pieces in a puzzle of someone else's? What about that person? What about that guy that doesn't believe that he's supposed to exist right now, or he believes that he's somehow from the future or some sort of bullshit, and that's what he thinks about in his head, and then one day he takes out one of his fantasies by hurting someone very, very close to him, or doing something very, very stupid? Or what about the man who thinks that somehow he's sent from a planet, another planet, and he's an alien or anything like that? That guy who thinks that he's some sort of person who is better than everyone else because of things that just naturally happen around him, even though it's consequentially inconsequential and completely and utterly coincidental. What happens when those dudes realize the truth, the fact that it is all just matter, it is all just energy, and they're along for the ride, and there's nothing they can do? Does that question, though, does that statement itself, because there is a question that lies in that statement, is there really nothing you can do? Is there really nothing that can be there, that can be something that you can do that would make a situation better? Anything, any kind of little thing, any kind of little inkling, or any kind of little instance of you just fucking acing it. Does that mean that you fucked up, or does it mean that you're better? Does it mean that you're doing something with your life? Does it mean that you could eventually create the next jet fuel that doesn't even require fuel, or is just a gas, or is just an electron pulsing wave or some kind? Who knows? Does it mean that you can do what you need to do in order to be able to create something that is fucking amazing and would be unbelievably cool? And that's still really freaking cool. That's really cool that I'm gonna do. It's like I think it looks like the Eternal Dragon to me, but it looks like way cooler, I think. So I'm just running into shit. do you think that I could turn all that cedar that's in the garage downstairs right now into a masterpiece and make the best fucking looking really cool plaques that like are sealed on two sides and let breathe the cedar actual bark and like let it like freaking that'd be so tight. So basically it's like aromating the freaking room and making it smell like cedar wood chips and like and you have like a fire next to it so it kind of like crackles a little bit or something like that. Not next to it, but in like another part of the room. Like, oh man, be really cool. They go for $200 a pop when I make them. It'd be so cool, man. Or maybe I could take cinnamon and make the cedar smell even better and make it like a sweet cedar, and like make like a cinnamon sticks or something like that, or just grind up cinnamon and pat it on there with some sap of some tree or something like that. Just like fucking pat it on there, and then the cedar is like with the wood and the fucking tightness of the freaking flames and shit and awesomeness. It'd be so tight, man. Those would go for $350. Got about 50 of them coming up, so if anyone wants to buy one, contact me on my email, and I can do it per commission, or I can do it at it's pretty cool. I mean, but that's about enough that I'm gonna plug. So I mean, that's stuff that I'm doing, but we're gonna get the cops on us. We're gonna throw it right up in the air, bank, and when it comes down, bank. There we go. We're gonna try to time this to where we're gonna get a car. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Alright, we're gonna get a car. 1, 2, and 3. And 1, 2, 3. I already just throw that car. There we go. And here we go. Alright, we got our new car. We're gonna be doing well. Doing well, getting our new car. Where's the new car at? God damn it. Son of a bitch. Shh. Call me for God damn it. Alright, I think that's about done for me. That's about it. But realize you are your own personal, metaphorical. One person. Just you. No one else. Bomb Squad. You can defuse. I wasn't doing anything. I was just trying to warm my knee because it's cold right now because I've been sitting down for so long. And also I think that I'm losing the feeling in my foot. Probably because of my medicine. But realize you are your own personal bomb squad. You can defuse situations that happen. You can defuse situations that you think are going to happen. You can realize that you're probably being paranoid. And you can also understand that you need therapy sometimes. Have a good day, and be yourself, because there's no one else but you sometimes. And I fuck up all the time. I do stupid shit, and I say stupid shit, but I really do have conviction, and I really do have training in some cases, So it's fun to actually know that, and it's fun to actually do really fun stuff that involves people being nice and having fun. Because, I mean, do you really want to piss someone off? Do you really want to do something that you can't take back? And before you think about that, think about if that someone was you doing that to yourself. Think about that person that was you doing that to yourself. And would you have them do that? Would you find it hilarious because it would offend someone else, but it wouldn't offend you because you have no sensibility of that? Understandably so, if anyone else has those sensibilities, what kind of sensibility would you be offended by? And if that was that thing, then wouldn't you yourself know how to be able to get to that and make you pissed off? That's the paradox we all listen to in our own minds over and over again until it drives us crazy when we're about 70 and we eat chicken tenders for breakfast. Yeah. Have a good day. Be yourself. And also, look at my dragon. It's not mine, it's my mom's. But it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be amazing.